So in this video we're going to look at the different question types, or certainly some of the different question types. These are all the types of questions that the user directly answers. So there's really two types of tag in Saaset. One is a question where the user directly inputs something, and the other one is where the system calculates a result and stores it in that tag. So system values, for example, and later on we will be covering things like equations and formatting, and also some conditional stuff. But the basic fundamental type of tag will contain a question, and this is where the user is going to put some input in. So I've just made a text file and I've put some tags in it just so I can demonstrate these things to you, and we're going to use that in here. So tag type demo we'll call this, and then we'll go and grab that text file from there, and it's pulled the tags in. So the basic text entry you've already seen if you've watched the demonstration of making the certificate maker. This is where it will directly ask the user a question. That could be, what is your name? Please enter your name. And that will do exactly what it says. It will ask them their name, and they have to answer it. It's not optional. The other version of that is the optional question type, and that would be this one here. This does exactly the same as what you've just seen, but it will let them leave the answer blank. So I'll put in here, what is your, we'll go last name for this. Okay, and we'll just go next and we'll show you that working in a moment. Okay, the next one is a multi-line text entry box. So what you've seen so far is single line text entry. So let me show you what I mean. So here is another project of mine, and in this one I want them to input some HTML code that they would have got from their sales button code. So in this case I want to give them a multi-line box so they can enter, and this is a multi-line text box, and basically it's just that it has multiple lines, it keeps scrolling down, it's also resizable to some degree. That is as opposed to a single line text entry box, which I can show you by doing this. So this would be a single line text entry box here, where they can only put in a single line of text. So that's the difference between the two types. So we're going to make one here for our demonstration, and we'll just pop in enter your address. Bear in mind the things I'm setting this up to do aren't real, this is just an example. There is also an optional version of the multi-line text entry. Exactly what it says, it will give them a multi-line box, but they have the option of leaving it blank. If you don't select the optional one, it will insist they make an entry. Then we have a multi-line editor, and this is a multi-line text editor, and in actual fact I can demonstrate what this is right on screen here, because you see how it's got the default answer down here on the multi-line text entry box. In the same way, if I choose the multi-line text editor, you'll notice that this gives me what is known as a TinyMCE editor. That's the technical term for it. It's basically a WYSIWYG HTML editor in like a miniature form, the sort of thing you normally see on forums for writing forum posts and that kind of thing. And that's what multi-line text editor does. So here we can put, it's only a demonstration, so just put enter something, and we can set a default. There's also an optional version which will let them leave it blank. The advantage of this is if you want them to enter some HTML, you want to let them format it. so maybe they're putting a title in or something, then they'll be able to actually choose the formatting as they go when they input it. So it gives them far more control. Then we have image file selector. This is basically going to pop up a file input box where they choose a file from their local computer that is an image, and they click the next button and it will upload that image to Saaset. So if I was doing it, select your background image, and the subfolder here is, when this uploads, it's going to upload into the base Saaset folder. So when you get your zip file at the end, you'll remember when we created the certificate maker, we did a zip file, and this had an image in it already. Let's say we let them choose an image and upload it. It would upload it and put it in this folder here. If we wanted it in a subfolder, we could specify the name, say images, and we would have an images folder in here, and it would upload the image to that folder. So that's why we have a subfolder option. And this is the allowed file extension. So normally for an image you're going to do something like JPEG and PNG. Again, on just going back to that one, there is an optional version of the file picker as well, so they can optionally skip it. If you've got a file where they don't have to put one, then you can choose that. This next one is color picker. This will give them just that, an HTML style color picker, but with the advantage that it will actually have a color picker box, and you can set a default. So I'm going to do that, and then I can show you this working in the final thing. And then the last one is a list of answers, and a list of answers will generate a box a bit like this question type box here, where it gives them a drop down and they can choose from a list of answers. And the way this works is, we go list of answers, and we might say choose a color. We'll do color again. Choose a color, and then in here we might put red, blue, yellow, green, black, and that is the options it will give them on the drop down. So now you've seen those question types there, let's actually go through and finish this project off. On finish we will display a download link, because it doesn't really matter for what we're doing. Leave all that as default, and let's just finish that. Okay, here we are. So if I now go view, you'll remember that the first thing was a text entry box, and this was a non-optional one. So if I try clicking next without filling it in, it will insist I fill it in. The next one was an optional one, so this will let me skip. This is a multi-line entry box for an address. Like that. Incidentally, I'll just go back to that. This is resizable at runtime as well. Okay, the next one was a multi-line text editor box, and you'll remember I put a default in, and there it is. And that's what they get, the tiny MCE editor. They could also click here and see it in HTML source code format. So it's really useful if you ever want them to put in source code and see what it looks like. They can switch to that mode and paste it in. This was a file image selector, so this will let them choose a file. So let me go to my pictures folder. There we go, choose a file. Actually, I won't choose that one, I'll choose this one because it's smaller. That's actually going to upload that image, which it's done in the background. And this one's a colour picker, and there we can see that they can choose a colour from the colour picker and it puts the colour into the box for them. And finally we had a list of answers, and there they are. There's our list of answers, and whatever you set that to, that will now contain the word yellow. That's what that tag will contain. If we want to see that, if I now download that file, remember that this is the file that we started with. It's just a list of tags. It's now going to replace those tags, and it's made it into a zip file because I had an image in there. So you'll see the image has been uploaded, and if we open this up, there's the name. That was optional, I left it blank. Here's the multi-line input box for the address. Here's the tag showing the HTML with the hello world in it. That's the name of the image I uploaded. That's the colour I picked, and that's the drop down list answer. So there we go. You can see from that how those different question types work.